So Jeremy Fowler and our guy Dan Graziano, had their nose to the grindstone, ear to the ground. I don't know what the saying is, but they were listening.
I think it's more ear to the ground when you're listening or something.
Yeah.
Nose to the grindstone is when you want to work. You got to get to work.
Well, I got a lot of people around here that do that on this program, that's for sure, especially Jesse. But they did their little notes package on ESPN.com on what they were hearing in Indy. The one that I saw from Jeremy Fowler, and Jesse, I know you read this start to finish, so I'll turn it over to you at some point. But I think that the Miami Dolphins made no effort whatsoever to disguise from the podium with both John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley the idea that they're interested in Malik Willis. So for Jeremy Fowler to say that a source told him Miami is definitely in on Malik Willis and that Arizona is also kicking the tires on that idea, that fell, for me anyway, under the category of no blank blank. John Eric Sullivan in Green Bay when the Packers traded for Malik Willis and saw what he did for the Packers the last 2 years. Jeff Hafley going against Malik Willis when he was running the scout team on defense in practice every day for the last 2 years. And both of them talking in very glowing terms about Malik Willis without flat out saying, we're going to try and sign Malik Willis. They also said, and this is what I like about John Eric Sullivan, and I don't know if this will continue, but he is as straightforward as they come. Everything is on the table with Tua, including a trade. A lot of times GMs don't acknowledge that.
And I like John Eric Sullivan, known John for a long time. Very good. Excited that he's getting an opportunity. Nobody's trading for Tua. He knows that. And nobody's trading for Tua. Unless Miami wants to give up a second-round pick for him to take him. He's an Osweiler. Tua's an Osweiler.
You got to give up stuff just to get him off your roster.
Yeah, and you know what? If I'm Denver, if you want to give me a second, I can take on a little cap. I'd take Tua if you pay 75 to 80% of that guarantee, but you give me a second. Now, I don't think John Eric's going to do that. I would hope he would.
His team's got a lot of needs.
But I think old Sean Payton probably is looking at it saying, we can make Tua. Tua definitely would have been better than Stidham. Well, maybe not because it was snowing. So maybe not. But that, if I'm Denver, I'm dabbling around saying, what if you give us a third?
We'll give you back a sixth.
No. So it's a fifth-round equivalent like Juice. No, I'm not interested in giving you anything. We're here to help. We went through this with Russ. We want to help you by taking one of those draft picks off your hands. And if I'm Minnesota, I'm not interested. I don't want Tua as my guy. I don't want Tua as my backup. But I'd love to get a pick. If I had a bunch of cap and I wasn't, I'd be interested because I'd like one of them picks.
So I don't know how you go about putting together, though, your roster if you're overhauling it. And I know that they are looking at trading other assets as well as they kind of hit the reset button in South Florida or South Green Bay at the rate they're going. But at the same time, like, if you're going to move on from Tua, which they clearly are, right? I mean, let's be clear. He can say everything's on the table, but him staying on the team is not on the table. They're not keeping him.
No,
they're going to eat a bunch of cap, whether they eat half of it this year and half of it next year or whatever they do. But Tua's donezo in Miami. But you have to have the money to pay Malik Willis, right? First of all, if that's who you're going to go with as your new quarterback. And you have to also try and get your roster, which they have 30 free agents, which is wild. I'm curious how they structured all their contracts, that's their situation. But Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan have a lot of work to do. There's no doubt about that. Whoever ends up signing Malik Willis His contract, again, according to multiple insiders, I know Jordan Schultz said this, they're looking at about $30 million a year.
Yeah,
or
it
maybe
won't be
more.
that high. No, it won't be that high.
It'll be less than what was paid to Sam Darnold, but it will probably be somewhere in that general neighborhood. And that's great for the Packers because the contract factors in. That would probably seal them up for a third-round compensatory pick for him. Again.
Yeah, well, Sheeto's going to get 20. I just saw the trade that just happened, and I don't know. I think it was a Texans tackle. Somebody just traded
to
for an
Cleveland.
offensive lineman. They signed him. Mm-hmm. Cleveland for $21 million a year. That's about where I think Sheeto will go. Mm-hmm. So the Packers are in great shape getting going to get compensatory picks. They know that. They plan for this. As far as Malik Willis goes, I don't know. Can Miami go spend $30 million when they have a $99 million cap charge when they're not?
This is what I'm asking. Yep, agreed.
I wouldn't. Why would you? You got to respect and love the fact that you think Malik Willis can be your guy, but then you're putting your eggs in that basket moving forward? I don't think that's the road they're going to go down. I actually look at it, if I'm Malik, I want to go to Minnesota. They're cutting a bunch of cap. Start looking at what people are doing. Why are they doing it right now? Why is Minnesota? Because you don't have to do it right now, right? They don't have.
Well,
to
they didn't release those. They didn't release those guys.
They don't have to announce it.
They put it out there because they're barring a trade. They'll be released. That's what they said.
Yeah, if I'm Minnesota, this is the road I'm going down. I want Malik Willis as my guy. I don't want to go and beg Aaron to come in or try and get Kirk Cousins again. Really? That's what you're thinking? Great. I think Packer fans would be fine with that. So watch Malik to Minnesota. I think that's the most intriguing play.
So let me ask you this then.
If you're Arizona, you're going to cut Kyler Murray and then bring Malik Willis in for $30-some million a year? The math ain't mathing to me on that. Like, the whole point of Malik Willis is you're going to get him at a much less of a rate. But are you going to do anything? Like, if you're not going to win and you don't think you can win with him, why are you paying him $30 million to be like Miami wants to lose? If I'm Arizona, I want to lose. I don't want to spend, and you're not going to get him for 1 year.
Is this the NBA now?
No, hold up. What benefit is Arizona getting this year by winning 6 or 7 games with Malik Willis? Yeah,
okay.
There is some NBA component to it.
Okay, so what benefit did you? Let's rewind the tape to 2023. The Packers, the previous season, had gone 8-9 and missed the playoffs, losing at home to the Lions, who had nothing to play for, in Aaron Rodgers' final game in a Packers uniform. And then they transition to Jordan Love as their starting quarterback. They have a bunch of really young guys from the 2022 and 2023 draft classes that are on their roster. They have a 4-game losing streak at one point, and they are sitting at 2-5 on October 30th before Halloween. Then they managed to find a way to go 9-8 and make the playoffs. Like, you of all people are you always have to try to win.
Got to win. Yep.
What makes you think that they are looking to not win and just take a gap year like the Pacers are without Tyrese Halliburton?
I'll explain to you. I'll explain to you my thought, and then we'll go. If you sign Malik Willis, are you committing to him for 5 years being your franchise quarterback? How many teams are going to do that?
No, you're probably committing to him for two or three. Maybe 3.
And are you looking and actively thinking you need to get positioned to have that young stud, the Drake May, these young quarterbacks come in? Or are you saying we're going to win a championship with Malik Willis? Because if that is the case, which is great, go for it. My point is, do I think Arizona and Miami, both carrying huge cap hits against the quarterbacks they're getting rid of, with rosters that weren't good enough to win with those guys on those big contracts, are they going to flip the script And when are they going to have, by all accounts, a big boy quarterback class next year that people will be saying they're going to tank for guys? Is that the road they want to go down? And I would argue, as if I'm a Dolphin fan, if Malik Willis can come in and win you 11 or 12 games this year, I'm all in. And if Jeff Hafley believes that, go for it. But otherwise, aren't you just compounding a problem? Because you're going to be paying, if you pay Malik $30 million, you're going to be, let's split it, $50 million a year to Tua. You're going to be looking at putting $70 or $80 million into a quarterback spot for a team that isn't going to win anything? Why does that make any sense to anybody?
Well, I would assume you're signing Malik Willis to a 5-year deal. You're giving him a big signing bonus, so he has a low base salary, so he really doesn't cost you a lot this year. And Mike, I'm going to do something that you hate and answer your question with a question. Do you think what the Seattle Seahawks did this season, in winning a Super Bowl while paying Sam Darnold an average of $33 million a year, which is $22 million a year, yes, less per year than what the Packers are paying Jordan Love and what the Dolphins were paying Tua and what the Jaguars were paying Trevor Lawrence, do you think that has caused a paradigm shift in some of these teams' mentalities of what did we say when they paid Jordan Love? That's the cost of doing business at the quarterback position.
Yep.
Is it possible that now, after a couple of years and after Sam Darnold's reclamation projects in Minnesota and Seattle, you don't have to pay the cost if you're smart about the less than average cost that you pay to a guy that's had bumps in the road like Malik Willis and like Sam Darnold?
You're not making fair comparisons there, because Seattle was a playoff team and they traded their quarterback and wasn't taking on $100 million in dead cap and didn't stink. You're talking about a full-on rebuild. So here's what I would say.
Seahawks didn't make the playoffs in 23 or 24, though.
I believe they were right. They were knocking right on the door.
10-7 and 9-8 with Geno.
Okay, so you can either look at it and say Malik Willis is going to be my franchise quarterback for this period of time, and we're not going to go and get a young guy, or we're not. You can't be half in on this. And at 30-some million, I think you're committing to him. At, low 20s, it's okay, we'll take a flyer. He's better than a backup. But for either of those two teams that he's been kind of pointed to, both with Mike LaFleur and with Jeff Hafley, you just dumped quarterbacks that you're paying a ton of money in dead cap to. Now, I get the fact that you want to win, but you also want to position yourself to get one of these young gun quarterbacks that everybody's excited about in the next year. That's the battle that these front offices will have to figure out on. Because are you fully committed to Malik Willis? Because if you are, great, go for it. And I think as a Packer fan, that's what we hope for. And for Malik, who's earned everything he's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a fan of either of those two teams, I kind of feel like you're dipping your toe. You ain't jumping in the pool. And that's great if that's all you're looking for. But I don't see a lot of people winning Olympic championships dipping their toe. You got to jump in there and go swim.